What's up guys, my name's Liam and today I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new ATK RS7 Pro. This is the fastest 75% layout keyboard that I've tested so far to date, having an 8000 Hz polling rate and even allowing you to adjust the rapid trigger down as low as 0.02 millimeters to give you the fastest response time possible. So could this potentially be the perfect gaming keyboard for you? Let's check it out. Before we get started today, I did want to let you know that this was sent out to me. However, everything you're going to be hearing in this video is going to be my own words and my own opinions. Included inside the box, it does come with some documentation, a switch and keycap puller, 3 additional switches, a USB-C cable, and this did come with some additional keycaps. For the layout, this is a pretty standard 75% layout. I do kind of prefer to have a control key over here as well on the right side, but I really like how they do have the delete key up here in the top right hand corner, and just everything about the feeling of this has been really great. The front of this is pretty standard, not raised up too high or anything like that. So very comfortable to use. The one thing, however, is they do actually have the USB-C connectivity in the middle. I do kind of prefer it over here on the left side, but honestly not really that big of a deal to me. On the back, this whole thing is just a solid aluminum piece. It does kind of have this cool looking design back here, and as you can see, it does have these 4 corner feet. So nothing about the design of this is too out of the ordinary. Everything about it feels great, and it is very heavy and solid, so it stays nice and planted on my desk the entire time that I've been using it. Here's a close-up look of the keycaps that are included. The ones that do come pre-installed on this keyboard, they're not shine through, though the few keycaps I did showcase that are also included in the beginning of this video, those ones are shine through. They are also using these limited edition Gateron switches. They do come pre-lubed, so did the stabilizers, and this does utilize this single rail design. These are rated as having an initial actuation force of 30 GF, so they do feel a little bit on the lighter end. These do, however, seem to have just a little bit more stem wobble than some of the dual rail designs that I've been currently testing out. Taking a look at the internals, over here you do have the top aluminum tray. This is just one solid aluminum piece. And here's a close-up underneath of what these switches look like inside of the switch tray. Right here, you can see what underneath the switches themselves looks like for the PCB. But as you can see, this is gasket mounted. So it does have these silicone gaskets right here. And then underneath, in between the switch plate and the PCB, they do have a piece of pour-on foam in there for the sound dampening. And they even have an additional piece of pour-on down here on the bottom. And here's a close-up look of the very heavy-duty aluminum base. The PCB itself just plugs up here in the port at the top, and the way that you actually do take this apart is there is screws over here, 4 at the top and then 4 at the bottom, that does screw to the top tray, holding everything together. So now let's go ahead and drop the sound test. They are using a web-based software that does allow you to control both your mouse and the keyboard. Just simply come over here to choose whichever one you want to access the settings to. And then once you come in here, this first tab, really simple and straightforward. A bunch of different LED lighting effects. Right here you got the brightness. If you do a solid color, which is what I usually prefer, you can adjust the coloring over here. So it does allow you to do certain areas, create your own and stuff like that. Over here on the next tab is where you can access your change key settings. So you have the Windows function tab. Here's if you're using a Mac. And this also allows you, if you're to come over here and select one of these keys, this is where you can set up a DKS setting, the hold and click MT, or even a toggle switch setting if you do use any one of these. Next up on the most important part is where you have access to the global controls on the sensitivity of your keyboard. They also allow you to adjust the dead zones over here. So for the initial press right here, the lowest setting that they have is a 0.1 millimeters. It does allow you to make adjustments in 0.01 millimeters after that. But as far as the rapid trigger itself goes, On this tab, the lowest setting you have is a 0.02, and again, same thing, this does allow you to adjust in 0.01 millimeter increments. So for the switches, you can go from as low as 0.1 down to 3.4, and over here on the rapid trigger. And how this works is when you're making these settings right here, you don't have to press anything up here, anything like that. All these changes you make are going to be made here globally. So if you wanted to like swipe and select your keys, as you can see, you can't do that. But however, if you did want to just come in here and set an individual key, I'll just show you a quick example. Say I wanted Q and I wanted that to be a 3.4 millimeter actuation distance. This is going to pop up down here. So if you wanted to cancel this, you can cancel it. Follow the whole picture here. This basically will just select all the keys again in case you wanted to basically delete the individual settings you had, or you can come down here and hit save if you've made any adjustments. As you can see there, it's just going to show this one as being the 3.4. All the rest of these keys will be on global settings, and like I said, come over here, hit that if you did want to go ahead and delete that off there and change that. So really quickly on the sensitivity of this, I've been using these lowest settings the whole time I've been using it. It's been working pretty good for the most part. Every once in a while, I'll get like a double space or something like that. And one thing that I did notice is if you are aggressive on your keyboard, like for example, if you just press on it really hard or rage or anything like that while you're gaming, I did notice that these settings can be so sensitive that you can get false keys. And how I found this out actually was by doing my solenoid test. So I kind of had some issues actually running that solenoid test on this because the solenoid moves really fast and it strikes down on the keyboard pretty aggressively, and every time I was doing it, it would activate all the surrounding keys around it when I did have these settings as low as possible. Then over here next on the performance settings tab, some cool stuff here. I'll just kind of let you read these yourself. Two things I've been messing around is this false touch prevention mode, and then over here on this limited beta mode, I've been messing around with this as well. As you can see, it does actually drop the accuracy and the sensitivity down to the 0.01 millimeter as opposed to the 0.02. Finally, over here on the other settings is where you can update your firmware and stuff like that. They do have a beta that I haven't had a chance to really play around with yet, but then over here on the final tab is where you can get feedback for the settings, or if you're coming across and experiencing any types of issues on this keyboard. One last thing I did want to mention here really quick though, however, is if you get this out of the box, I did have a problem once where I unplugged it and plugged it back in, and it was my control key was acting kind of weird. So if you are having an issue with that, like for example, I was pressing down on it, it wasn't working all the time, I just simply came over here to this tab and I just restored it to the factory settings using this tab, and after that it's worked just absolutely perfect. I haven't had a single issue with it since, so that was just like a one-time blip, but like I mentioned, this cleared that up immediately. For the performance, I have seen other third-party latency tests on this showing that it does have lower latency than something like the Wooting 60HE. And in my test, using the solenoid test on both the 60HE and the RS7 10 times each, the RS7 did come out ahead a majority of the time. Alright guys, so that about wraps things up on the brand new ATK RS7. I really do feel like all around this is a very solid competitor and a great performing keyboard. The overall feeling of this, it is good. It's definitely not on the level of something like the Boog 75, but the build to me still does feel really good, and it does have superior performance. I really like the software, everything about the way that you can make adjustments to this, how sensitive you can adjust the keys. I really do feel like this is a great step in the right direction for HE keyboards, and I am really impressed with what they were able to do here. So if you are interested in picking this up, I can say that I have been enjoying it enough to where I'd have no problem spending my money on it, as this is one of the best performing options out there on the market. All right guys, so if you have any questions or feel like I left anything out, please let me know down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed watching this video and are interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, please drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel, and thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.